What this book is about. The modern era provides us with numerous options for careers, partners, and information sources. Why are we still stressed and unsatisfied despite having so many options? We try to do everything and end up spreading ourselves too thin, which leads to burnout. As a result, it is critical that we identify and prioritize what is important to us. In essence, we must prioritize and disregard everything else. You will learn how to identify and prioritize what is important to you through this summary. You'll also understand why comparing yourself to others, such as Metallica, is pointless, how self-criticism can help you be right, and why death is an unavoidable end for all of us. Chapter 1: Find Your Right Struggle. Have you ever considered your life's ultimate goal, the one you want to be remembered for on your tombstone? It's a difficult question to answer because many of us have vague goals such as happiness, love, and job satisfaction. However, ambiguous goals will not motivate us to strive for success. To achieve anything meaningful in life, we must be willing to struggle. Achieving our objectives necessitates hard work, perseverance, and the ability to overcome setbacks and hardships along the way. It is critical to recognize that success does not come easily, and that there will be challenges to overcome. However, by setting specific and attainable goals, we can focus our efforts and find motivation to overcome these obstacles. So, set some goals for yourself and be prepared to work hard to achieve them. When faced with challenges, it's easy to become overwhelmed and give up if you don't have a clear and specific goal to work toward. If you want to be a CEO, for example, you may be drawn to the idea of power and responsibility that comes with the job. However, being a CEO is far more difficult than it appears, as it necessitates working long hours, making difficult decisions, and frequently terminating employees. If you are not fully committed to becoming a CEO, the hard work and challenges will be too much for you to handle, and your chances of success will be limited. Because struggles are unavoidable, it is critical to find something worth fighting for, something you truly enjoy doing. When you pursue something that makes you happy, you will not be discouraged by the difficulties that come with it. In fact, you may come to love it. For example, the author discovered his passion in dating writing and established a successful dating advice blog that he enjoyed working on, eventually making it his full-time job. It is pointless to seek a life free of adversity. To be successful, you must first identify a goal for which you are willing to work hard. It is, however, equally important to refuse struggles and tasks that do not bring you joy. Be firm and stop chasing after things in life that don't bring you joy. Concentrate on a few great things while ignoring everything else. Chapter 2: Have the Right Values. There are numerous examples of success achieved through struggle in the art world. The image of the artist as a poor, unrecognized genius is a stereotype, but it is all too common. Dave Mustaine, a guitarist, was kicked out of his band just as they were about to become famous. He channeled his rage and worked tirelessly for 2 years to improve his skills and form a better band, Megadeth, which sold over 25 million records. Despite Megadeth's success, Mustaine's happiness remained elusive as he constantly compared his accomplishments to those of his former band, Metallica. His self-imposed success criteria led him to consider himself a failure, despite numerous notable accomplishments. Mustaine's experience serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of measuring one's success solely against the success of others. Finding healthy values to assess your achievements is important, and Pete Best is an example of how this can lead to happiness. Best, like Dave Mustaine, was fired from a band on the verge of fame, except this time the band was the Beatles, one of the greatest bands in history. Best became deeply depressed after witnessing his former bandmate's success until he changed his values. He realized that a loving family and a happy home life were more important to him than musical success. This shift enabled him to rediscover the fulfillment and joy of making music, albeit with less successful bands. Finally, in terms of happiness, values are more important than success, and we will discuss how to identify the appropriate values in the following section. Chapter 3: Find some good values to believe in. As we saw in the previous section, comparing your worth to others will inevitably lead to frustration. However, there are many other erroneous values that can stymie your path to happiness, such as pleasure. While it's a common choice, putting pleasure ahead of everything else can have negative consequences, similar to drug addiction, adultery, and overeating. According to research, people who prioritize pleasure as their highest good are more likely to suffer from anxiety and depression. Many people have a problematic value of measuring their worth based on material success. This can manifest as a desire for more material possessions than those around you, or as the display of luxury items such as a new Rolex. However, research shows that after basic needs are met, additional wealth has no effect on happiness or well-being. Pursuing material success at the expense of values like family, honesty, or integrity can even be harmful. It is critical to cultivate positive values in order to avoid negative ones. Adopting unsatisfactory values is frequently caused by a scarcity of meaningful ones. Identifying worthwhile values can assist in avoiding the pitfalls of hedonism or materialism. To be considered good values, they must be grounded in reality, contribute to the well-being of society, and be easily controllable. Honesty is a valuable virtue because we have the ability to choose whether or not to be truthful. Furthermore, it is grounded in reality and provides others with honest feedback, making it useful. Creativity, generosity, and humility are other values that meet these criteria. Chapter 4. Take responsibility for positive change in life. Every year, many inexperienced runners run marathons to raise money for charitable causes. Although some find the race difficult to complete, the majority are pleased with their achievement. However, if running was required, even a commendable performance might not be enough to satisfy. The enjoyment of an activity can be diminished by a sense of obligation to participate in it. Regrettably, a sizable number of people regard their life experiences as imposed upon them. They tend to see themselves as helpless victims of life events, whether it's a botched job interview, rejection from someone they care about, or missing a bus. William James, who was born into a privileged family in 19th century America but suffered from poor health, is an extreme example of this concept. James wanted to be a painter, but his father mocked him for his lack of talent, so he studied medicine instead. However, he dropped out of medical school, leaving him feeling ill, unsupported by his family, and jobless, and contemplating suicide. Charles Peirce's philosophy, which emphasized that individuals should take full responsibility for their lives, struck a deep chord with James. Consider William James as an example when life throws you a curveball. He had every reason to blame his illness and his father's mistreatment, but he chose to accept responsibility for his life. He empowered himself and dedicated himself to his work, and his efforts paid off. He went on to become a pioneer in American psychology. Similarly, if you ever find yourself feeling like a victim, remember James and consider your role in the situation. Whether you've been dumped by a partner or feel like a victim of circumstance, try to accept responsibility and work on improving your situation. Taking control of your life and avoiding the same mistakes will lead to a brighter future. Chapter 5. Face identity threats with Buddhism. You're a senior manager at a prestigious firm, with a nice car, great clothes, and the respect of your colleagues. To top it all off, you take pride in your position. When you're flirting with the idea of taking a risk that could propel you to the top, you have to consider the risks as well. If not done perfectly, you'll lose not only your job, money, and status, but also your sense of self. Humans reject risky propositions that could result in a loss of identity, according to Manson's law of avoidance. Would you put money on it? Most people would not. Many people avoid new and potentially rewarding endeavors because they are afraid of destroying their identity. Writers and artists, for example, may be hesitant to show their work for fear of it not being appreciated. This would result in the loss of a sense of self based on the promise of greatness. Despite the potential rewards, many people choose not to take a chance and follow Manson's law of avoidance. There is an effective way to overcome the fear that comes with questioning one's beliefs. Practice Buddhism. According to Buddhist teachings, all identity labels we assign ourselves are mental illusions that should not be used to make major life decisions. By letting go of this way of thinking, you open the door to a world of newfound freedom to do whatever brings you joy and fulfillment. It can be extremely liberating to let go of your identity. Instead of constantly adhering to a single image, such as prioritizing your job over family and hobbies, you can pursue whatever brings you joy. You'll be able to make choices that make you happy, whether it's spending time with family or engaging in an interesting hobby. Chapter 6: Accept your flaws and insecurity. We've all been caught up in the annoying mindset of believing we're always right, even when there's evidence to the contrary. We're not alone in this, as even with facts in front of us, it can be difficult to accept that we might be wrong. However, it is possible to recognize these moments and take a step back. Consider the following example. The author's friend recently proposed and was accepted by everyone except the bride-to-brother. He strongly disagreed with the groom and stated unequivocally that the engagement was a bad decision that would inevitably cause harm to his sister. Despite all protestations to the contrary, he was unmoved. This exemplifies the importance of considering multiple perspectives and remaining open to the possibility of being wrong. Although most people, including his own sister, thought the brother was wrong, they were unable to persuade him of his mistake. To avoid making the same mistake, we must question our own thought processes and consider the possibility that we are mistaken. This may be difficult because our preconceived notions frequently conceal deeper insecurities. However, by courageously questioning our own beliefs, we can gain a better understanding of our biases and make better decisions. The story of the brother exemplifies how our preconceived notions can cloud our judgment. In his case, his disdain for his sister's fiancé appeared to be a cover for his own unresolved issues. Confronting one's own underlying insecurities can be difficult, but doing so allows one to make more informed decisions without being hampered by self-doubt or emotion. We can improve our ability to meet our own and others' needs by being willing to examine our own beliefs. Chapter 7: Learn to control. Romeo and Juliet's love story is one of the most famous in history. However, due to the turbulent circumstances they were in, which ultimately led to their suicides, it has a heartbreaking ending. This timeless story depicts the overwhelming intensity of romantic love. According to research, these emotional bonds cause similar brain reactions to cocaine, resulting in highs and lows that can contribute to heartache and suffering if not properly managed. The dangers of love were well understood in Shakespearean times. Perhaps Romeo and Juliet was written to highlight the obvious dangers of amour. Throughout the majority of the 19th century, relationships and marriages were founded on the couple's complementary skills rather than devoted affection. Now, however, romantic love is frequently exalted, which inevitably leads to unfulfilled hopes and sorrow. Don't give up on romance just yet if you're feeling disillusioned. Meeting specific criteria is the key to a healthy relationship. When one or both partners use the relationship to escape from their problems, this is referred to as unhealthy love. They may use their love to distract themselves from their problems, but this can only last so long. The problems eventually resurface, and the relationship deteriorates. Healthy love, on the other hand, is distinguished by a strong commitment from both partners. Rather than using the relationship as a distraction, they support each other and work together to overcome obstacles. It is critical, however, that this support is desired rather than imposed on the other partner. If one partner attempts to control or dominate the relationship, this is an indication of unhealthy love. Chapter 8: Fear of death drives immortality pursuits. It's an unsettling fact that each of us will die at some point. This unavoidable fact has a significant impact on how we live our lives. Ernest Becker's pioneering work can help us understand the extent to which death governs our existence. Becker's unconventional methods and untimely death ended his academic career, but his seminal book, The Denial of Death, remains an important contribution to the study of mortality. Becker introduced two key concepts in his book. One of Ernest Becker's central tenets in his seminal work, The Denial of Death, is that humans are uniquely afraid of dying. Our ability to think abstractly and hypothetically allows us to imagine alternative paths for our lives, including what might happen after we die. While the ability to imagine possibilities is one of our greatest strengths, it also has a negative side effect in that it allows us to dwell on the certainty of our own mortality. Ernest Becker's second central concept, as outlined in his book The Denial of Death, is that humans are compelled to pursue immortality projects in order to cope with our impending mortality. In essence, we strive to create a conceptual version of ourselves that will exist long after we are gone. This desire drives people to pursue a wide range of endeavors, such as seeking fame, making a lasting impact in politics or business, or devoting themselves to a specific religion. Finally, these projects provide the opportunity to leave a legacy that will last beyond our short lives. Although seeking immortality may appear to be a noble goal, it can have far-reaching negative consequences for both individuals and society as a whole. This drive has historically fueled countless wars and caused untold suffering and destruction. The constant pressure to make a name for oneself can cause significant stress and anxiety on a personal level. Fortunately, there is a simple solution to these issues. Rather than obsessing over immortality, we can learn to live in the present moment and find meaning in it. We can cultivate a fulfilling and meaningful life without becoming bogged down by the trappings of fame or power by focusing on spreading joy and positivity to those around us. This philosophy goes beyond simply accepting our own mortality. Trying to please everyone and be everything to everyone, as we've seen, is a recipe for unhappiness. Instead, it's critical that we prioritize the things that truly bring us joy, whether that's cultivating healthy relationships or engaging in the joyful struggle of pursuing our passions. We can create a fulfilling and satisfying life for ourselves by letting go of unnecessary distractions and focusing on what truly matters.